ain't no gun zone. That's the only time when we become known. Got your mama moaning why they do my son wrong. Hate to see you on the ground with all that blood gone. Got your family looking for tips, your killer unknown. Got your body, ain't got no money, case get postponed. But that
Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to Life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. You're down! Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight. For the majority of the time I come on my page, I tell prison stories about when I was out there on the street, caught up in the life. But I definitely don't want anybody to think that I'm condoning that type of lifestyle, so from time to time I like to do what I call Free Game Friday. And in the same way that some of my bigger homies used to try to come and give me information to help me move smarter when I was on the street and eventually move out of the street altogether, is what I'm doing right now. So this is for everybody out there in the street, especially those youngsters, man. So what I'm gonna be talking about is, you know, having that thing on you, man, whether you want to call it the blicky, the blammer, you know, you strapped up, you got the switch on you, whatever you want to refer to it as, right? Just having that weapon doesn't necessarily make you safe, and a lot of people think it does, right? And unfortunately, I'm gonna be discussing an incident that happened this year, March 18th, with a Philadelphia rapper by the name of Derek Gant. His rap name was Fat G's. And actually that was his music that I used at the start of this video. Unfortunately, man, this young brother was gunned down right in front of his home, and it was on Ring camera.
The violence. Last night, he became the latest homicide victim in Philadelphia.
28-year-old Derek Gant, also known by his rap name Fat G's, was gunned down on a Broytown street on the same block where he lived with his family.
Monday night, the big story on Action News is the investigation into the violent death of a young man who used his lyrics to spread a message of peace.
Tonight, he's being remembered by his family, his community, and his fellow musicians.
Action News reporter Annie McCormick live for us now at police headquarters with more on the victim and what police are learning through the investigation, Annie.
Yeah, and Shari and Rick, that victim was shot multiple times right in front of his home. Police scooped him and rushed him to Penn Presbyterian Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. And today, homicide detectives are still working to figure out who is responsible.
killers all in my city, can't get enough of it.
28-year-old rapper Fat G's is remembered today in the music world. Meek Mill tweeted this about his untimely passing. Popular radio host Mina Say What Lona first interviewed him 10 years ago.
Yo, bro, we going back to the studio.
It's just really heartbreaking that this young man was literally advocating against the senseless violence that ultimately he was the victim of.
It was just last fall when he dropped this song, No Gun Zone, about curbing gun violence.
Why they do my son wrong?
His friends and family know him as 28-year-old Derek Gant.
He was a good dude, you know. All yesterday, we all together yesterday praying at the masjid all day. He doing his good deeds, trying to feed the homeless.
10 p.m. Sunday, right in front of his Brewerytown home in the 1200 block of North Taney Street, Gant was shot to death. At least a dozen shots were fired. His mother was inside. Today out front, his friends and family surrounded his imam.
That's what, you know, one of the last things that, you know, he died doing, you know, trying to repair the damage that sadly the culture's caused.
Investigators have video of Gant speaking to someone in the passenger side of a vehicle on the street before the shots rang out. That vehicle then fled. At this hour, police have no arrests.
Too many people are dying.
Now, you know, you have people who initially said when it first came out, it was a hit, and I'm not necessarily here to discuss a lot of that though, right? In my opinion, it wasn't a hit. It was just an argument going bad. Reason being because the shooting was caught on Ring camera, and a good portion of the argument he had with the shooter was also caught on Ring camera. Now, in my opinion, if it had been a hit, the person who did the shooting already knew who they were looking for. So when you see on the Ring camera at some point in time, and there's been several different versions uploaded on YouTube and other social media sites, you'll see Fat G saying, man, look, I talked to the dude, he's double parked on my block. He told me just to go ahead. He told me to go ahead, which is basically saying he told me to leave. So if you come here to intentionally hit this dude and he comes to your car, you have your target right there in front of you. Why would you tell him to leave? And then they show on the Ring camera where the car actually pulls down in front of Fat G's house. They have another discussion. They have another argument a little bit. Fat G's goes in the house, and at this point in time, Fat G's tells him to leave. And so it seems like Fat G's goes into the house. Now, while he's out there on the phone with some dude that he's talking to by the name of Pops or whatever, he says, hey man, basically I'm getting ready to flame this car up. I'm getting ready to shoot this car up because he's double parked on the block. He's out here looking suspicious and I don't know what he's up to. At that, a little after that, he leaves, he walks into his house, maybe to retrieve a weapon. There's many things, in my opinion, that he done wrong, that if he had not done them, he would have definitely saved his life. First and foremost, the car is outside, man. He's outside, he's up the street, you know. Sometimes we feel that the whole, and he says it, he says, this is my block, you know. And sometimes we feel that, you know, the whole block is ours. Even if we've lived there for years and years and years, that whole entire block is not ours, unfortunately. And a lot of us in these urban communities, in these gangs, we have these mindsets, not saying that the brother was in a gang, right? But I'm just saying that sometimes we think the entire street is ours. Had he never went outside to confront that car, then he would be here today. And so a lot of times, myself included, when I was young out there, I felt that having a gun was extra protection, and to a certain point, it made me invincible, right? But we also have to keep in mind that other people are armed just like we are armed, right? And so now when they're out there arguing, at one point in time, the dude who he's arguing with, he said, hey man, listen, man, I recognize you. Ain't you that rapper dude? You know, he said, at one point he told him, I'm a fan of your music, man. So then Fat G's goes down the steps. He approaches the car. Now, while he's on his porch, I believe it's his mother or somebody, you can hear her saying, why are you arguing with people out there, you know? And so he eventually goes into his house, maybe to retrieve a weapon. Maybe he already had it on him. But he goes, he approaches the cars, and some type of discussion ensues. A lot of it is inaudible. And at some point in time, the dude in the car starts shooting. You know, of course, I can't show that on YouTube. Now, it appears from the video, which was caught on the Ring camera, Fat G's also got off a couple of shots. And who knows? Maybe when he was arguing with the dude seen that he was strapped and felt disrespected. You know, a lot of times, you know, that was, to be honest, that was one of my things that would anger me if I thought somebody was pulling a weapon on me. Any type of weapon, because pulling a weapon on a person, of course, indicates that you could potentially try to harm them or take their life. And a lot of people are not going to sit around to wait to see what you are going to do with that weapon. So maybe the presence of that weapon made the other dude feel disrespected. Another thing, in my opinion, man, is I always try to move as if everybody is armed. You know, had he moved like that, because just because you got the weapon and you go out, obviously he didn't have it, he didn't approach the man with the weapon in his hand. So maybe it was in his, maybe it looked like he had on a hoodie, maybe it was in his pockets. And so maybe the dude saw the outline of it or whatever. But when the dude started shooting, Fat G's has the weapon in his left hand and it starts shooting. One of the videos shows something flying up in the air, falling on the ground, and it appears to be a cell phone. But, you know, I was always taught, never pull a weapon on a person if you're not going to shoot it. You know, never display a weapon. Now, I think even further than that, you never even approach a person with a weapon unless you're getting ready to shoot him, right? And I'm not saying that to have individuals go out and shoot people, but what I'm saying is, if you have to go in your house, get your weapon, and then go approach somebody, you have enough time to leave the situation. Or if you have to go to your car, you know, so if you're going back, you know, if you're going back with your weapon, if you're not going back shooting, there's no need to go back talking with your weapon, because unfortunately a situation can occur in the same manner that it occurred with Fat G's. Both of these guys are talking. Obviously, both of these guys have weapons, and if one dude happens to shoot before the other dude, where does that leave you? You know, so we shouldn't automatically assume that just because we got it on us or we got the blicky with us that we're safe. You know, guns a lot of times give people a false sense of security, and that's not always going to be the case, especially if you don't have a shoot first, shoot right away mentality. You know, what was also sad is Fat G's real name, Derek Gant, was a young brother, man, 28 years old. He had recently dropped a song that was called No Gun Zone. Actually, the song is a very likable and catchy song, and he was talking about trying to curb the gun violence in Philadelphia. As many of us know, Philadelphia is a deadly city that's plagued by a lot of gun violence, you know. Unfortunately, man, the young man lost his life, and unfortunately, he also lost his life on the Ring camera. It appears to be right in front of his mother or family members. And so let's be sure to keep in mind that having a weapon alone is not security, is not protection, does not guarantee our survival. A person may say it's God, a higher power, divine intervention. A person may say it's luck. I believe it may be a combination of all those things, but I also believe it's a combination of when I had older homies talking to me, giving me information, like we say, giving me game, I paid attention and I took it to heart, because when you're out there and you're living in the streets, there's nothing predictable. Anything can happen at the drop of a dime, man, and we have to be prepared. But also, more importantly, the way that you move is extremely important. You know, the way that you move, certain situations that you avoid, and when you do put yourself in certain situations, you try to have a advantageous position in that situation. It's extremely unfortunate that that situation even had to occur. But if Fat G's felt that it was time to retrieve his weapon and he had just came outside blazing, possibly things would have turned out much different. If ever a time in life comes you feel you need a weapon just to go approach and talk to a person, that should be red flag number one. And chances are maybe 50-50 or even higher that the situation is not going to turn out right. Let's keep it real, right? If we out there, if we live in the street life, and of course if we have any type of previous record, right? If a person is not out there with a permit to legally carry a weapon, your chances are extremely slim that you're going to get a self-defense case, you know, unless you happen to live in some of those stand your ground states. I know that California doesn't have any stand your ground laws. I do believe they have a justifiable homicide, but like I said, for those of us who have criminal past, it's going to be hard to even get one of those because we're not supposed to be in possession of a weapon. And so I'll reiterate one last time. Anytime you have to grab a weapon to go approach and talk to a person, that's not a good situation. And we always want to proceed like everybody's armed. So hopefully some youngsters out there will take heed to that, man, that just because you have a weapon, just because you got it on you, just because you got a weapon in your possession does not make you bulletproof, does not guarantee your safety. Anyway, you already know who it is. It's your boy 16 to Life. Resume normal program. And rest in peace to Fat G's Derek Gant. Sending my condolences to all his family, friends, and loved ones.
Lord, forgive me for my sins, I was traumatized. Shooting quick, no camera lens, we talking homicides.